Hello, I'm Kyle, and this is Give Pause Hobby, the channel where I stop to appreciate the things I love to fill my free time with. So we're following up the last teaching video, or kind of demo video, I guess, of the setup for the original 4 ROOTbots with the setup for the Clockwork 2 ROOTbots. Just like last time, I will walk you through the setup instructions and show you how that works for each of them. And then I will play turn 1 for each of the factions so you can kind of see them in action just a little bit. Now, there's a little bit more interplay between the factions this time around because we have both the Otters and the Crows, which have extra cards, as I'll show you, for how the other factions deal with their unique mechanics of, well, the Otters and everything they are, and then the Crows' plots. But then also the logical lizards, which will be vacuuming up any discarded cards or used cards into the Lost Souls. So a little bit going on that wasn't necessarily in that first batch of ROOTbots. So without any further ado, let's stop chatting here and take you over to the table. All right, welcome to the table. Just like last time, I've already set up the basic setup on the original map here. Nothing should be surprising. I do not have anything underneath the ruins to accidentally peek at all the time like I did last time. And off to the side, I will show you static pictures. Again, this will be the moving shot. Static pictures will show you updates of the different boards I have over to the side. But suffice to say, I'll give you a shot now, and then you'll see it just in pictures after that. So here is my setup over here. Just like last time, I believe I did it this way. In setup order, we have lizards, the otters, moles, and crows, and then we will play in reverse order, just because I think that's kind of neat how that worked out last time. So we will go through how exactly to set up each of these factions, and then I will play one turn of each of them. Now you'll notice a few things are already out and on the table, and those are the cards for the basic services and the advanced services for the Otters, because those are important. And then the advanced services for each of the factions in play, I actually plop down right at Birdsong, because that's when you're going to first check to see if there's anything that they want, because the first rule on every single bot is poor manual dexterity. So you're really not losing any clarity on the board if you put a card down on top of that, because by this point, if you're playing with the bots, you should understand how poor manual dexterity works and that they don't actually have a hand of cards. So that's perfectly fine. And then it's right there to remember. So yeah, without any further yammering on, let's get into the actual setup for each of these factions. So again, just like with the first 4, you will set them up in rulebook order. So like I said, lizards, otters, moles, and crows. So starting off with the lizards, the first thing you're going to do is the Give Pause Hobby patent pending dump everything in the center of the map method. You're going to gather your amazingly cute warriors. So all right, so they are all set up. I gotta say, one of the things that I really like about the lizards, and this is true for some of the other factions, but I feel like their warriors are slightly different colored, a little bit more obviously, and I think that's kind of cool. Every time I play with them in there, I just enjoy that they're not quite uniform. And no, this is not me embedding some like facetious comment. Like, I really do like that because I think it gives them a little bit of texture, like extra character. All right, so Next up, we're going to place our warriors. Place 4 warriors in one garden of a matching printed suit in a random corner that is not the starting corner clearing of another bot, and if possible, diagonally opposite. So, like we did with the cats, 0, 1, 2, 3. So 0, 1, 2. I love how I pointed out so clearly, and then I immediately forget which one I determined. So we put a rabbit garden down, and then 4 lizards right there. Then we're going to place 1 warrior in each adjacent clearing. And we're going to set the conspiracy. So your outcast suit is going to be placed on the sanctify space on the board. Fill garden tracks. So aside from the 1 rabbit garden we've already placed down, the rest are going to go to the board. All right, and for those of you keeping track at home, my snap is just nothing, which is honestly a tragedy because I'm a band director. How I have no snapping ability in these 2 hands as a band director is beyond me, but is what it is, and I deal with it. Then you're going to draw Lost Souls. You're going to draw 3 cards, and you're going to place them face up in the order that they were drawn. 1, 2, 3 in our Lost Souls pile, just to kind of kick things off over there. And last but not least, again, this was supposed to take place before individual faction setup, but I always do it now, because why not? Victory point marker. Now, actual last step, the trait card. So just like last time, I have chosen 1 trait each for each of the bots. Fanatics is this one. So whenever I convert, I'm going to battle in that clearing. After converting the warrior in this battle, deal an extra hit. So since it is a conspiracy, I guess I will kind of put it above that to hopefully remind myself, that it exists. And there is the setup for the lizards. And moving on, we're going to go to the otters. So again, patent pending, dump everything out on the map, and the little glass beads go right back in because you won't need them. Everything else can go up there. So step 1, which is pretty much, I think, this first step for all of them minus the Vagabot, gather your warriors. Haha! Yeah, see, much more uniform blue color. Maybe it's like painting. Yeah, painting yellow is actually like a really challenging thing, and oftentimes it's a little bit tricky. So maybe it's the same here. Okay, so place our warriors. We're going to place 1 warrior each in each clearing on the river. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there they go. 3 rabbit clearings and 2 mouse clearings, just the way the original map goes. Now, this one down here, clearing 8, it's close, but not quite. So don't put one there, even though, like I said, very, very close. Then we're going to fill our trade post tracks right now. Okay, so all filled up over here. And just a reminder, because it's never bad to remind things, the victory points are not uniform for the trade post, unlike the human version. So don't be surprised when you're piloting this faction and you go, oh, that's different than the last time they put down a fox trade post, because that's how it's designed. Next up, gain starting payment. Place 1 warrior in your payments box. Boop. 1 of your warriors. And then stock your market. You're going to draw 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow, that was a pro grab. 5 cards from the deck and add them to your market. Your face-up hand. Ooh, wow. 3 craftable items. Feel like in our example turns, the other ROOTbots are going to take advantage of that. And make them nice and handy to grab, because they're going to be moving around. Then again, step N+1, place the marker down there. And +2, we have traits. So ferocious, as attacker in battle, maximum rolled hits is always 3. I guess I'll kind of tuck it over here. It's sort of covering 28, 29, and 30 on the victory point track, but if I don't remember that this trait is in place by this point in the game, then I have not been paying attention. But I think that should be a pretty good place for it, because that's where I'm going to be looking whenever I am battling. And that is the Riverfolk Robots. Next up, the moles. Dump them out. And throw that up there. And turn my page. And then set up. Gather pieces. Form supplies of 20 warriors, 3 tunnel tokens, and 9 crowns. Okay, now the one thing about this is, we talked about, I'm going to bring the burrow over here. We talked about on the Drillbit Duchy channel, the building action actually differentiates which type of building, whether a citadel or a market, based on how many warriors you have in your supply. So if you have 9 or more warriors in your supply, you're going to build a citadel. So when you are making your warrior kind of setup for, wow, this is going well. When you're putting your warriors by the board, you want to make sure you have one section of 9 of them, and then the rest, because then it's really easy to tell if you should do a citadel or a market when it comes to time to build something, and you don't have to count every single time. So with that, warriors. Okay, so how I've done it here, done a number of different times, but this is just an example. I have my burrow and my warriors close by, so I don't want to be reaching super far across, since I'm already going to be reaching up there for the crows. And the lower line, that is the 10 plus moles. So that if I'm grabbing things from the top line, that means I'm dropping below the level that I would start making markets instead of citadels. Okay, so now I'm going to gather my crowns as well as my tunnels. Now remember, crowns are not, you're not going to get victory points for actually swaying the ministers. You are just going to use them to cover up the suit of the ministers you swayed, so they don't need to be actually set up anywhere specific. So next up, you're going to prepare the burrow. Place the burrow board near the map. I mean, I've always placed this by the player board. I guess as long as you make sure you make it distinct, I don't see a problem with it. Well, I guess other players might want to see things, but anyways, I'm not going to put it near the map. I'm putting it near my stuff, so take that, rule book. Surface, place 2 warriors and 1 tunnel in a corner clearing that is not the starting corner of another bot. Blah, blah, blah. Same language you're going to see for lots of, I think, all of the militant factions. They want a corner clearing that's not a starting one, and if possible, opposite of a starting clearing. So obviously, lizards are here, so we're going to go over there. So we're putting 1 tunnel and 2 warriors in the corner clearing. Then we're going to put 2 warriors in each of the adjacent clearings. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And then we are good to go. Each of the adjacent clearings except the burrow, because the tunnel does make it adjacent to the burrow, but you don't start putting warriors in there just yet. You're going to fill the building tracks. So you got these little guys. You put them over here. And then you're going to sway your starting ministers. Draw 2 cards and discard them. Now this has come up elsewhere. This does not go to the logical lizards Lost Souls pile. The game has not started yet, so these two cards that are going to sway these ministers are going to go right to the discard pile. Now, this is, so obviously this one is easy. It's the top red minister, so we got the captain right off the bat. This one has come up a couple different places, a couple different times. According to the rulebook, very clearly states that when you are swaying your ministers, you are going to, if it's a bird card, or if there's no such minister, so say if you've already done the 3 fox ministers, then you would go to the bottommost minister that has no crown. But it also says very clearly, including if the order card is a bird. Now, this is not the way I was playing Better Bot Project, because bird typically symbolizes wild. It does not symbolize nothing. But the rulebook makes it clear that it needs to be the specific suit to actually place the crown. So it's come up before that, I believe I saw it, that Benjamin Schmaus himself had said it should act as wild, just like you would think, with the bird card being wild. But that's not what the rulebook technically says, so I don't know. It's kind of a weird in-between one. I don't know if that's going to be errated at some point. I've been playing it with them going down to the bottom because, frankly, the Drillbit Duchy has yet to claim a single victory. So getting the bottommost ones could theoretically get them more victory points because those are the ones that get VPs. However, the upper ones are the ones that actually give them kind of extra actions. For instance, the very bottom one on the board, Duchess of Mud, scores 2 victory points if all the tunnels are on the map. Now, that's not something that they're going to have access to for quite some time. However, if we were to do the top one, then we're going to place an extra warrior in a clearing that has the fewest duchy. So maybe I should do the opposite. Because they haven't won yet, they're going to get more bang for their buck out of the upper ministers. So, you know what? I'm going to try to go back to the way it used to be for Better Bot Project. Do not take this as my legal counsel that you should just disregard the book here or elsewhere, but this is what I'm doing this time. Then, step N+1, victory point tracker, N+2, trade card. So, Overwhelm. You now dig twice a turn, and it now requires and moves only 3 warriors, not 4. So I think I'm going to put that underneath my burrow, because that's where I'm going to be grabbing the warriors from for the dig action, and then the reminder can happen right there when I'm going for it. And that is set up for the moles. So last but not least, we have our crows. So step 1, as is always the case, we're going to gather our warriors. All right, so this actually, it is gather warriors and plots. So we're going to take all of our plots and put them face down so you don't know what they are. Because, I mean, it wouldn't be cheating. It's not like you're going to play indifferently if you know, but technically that's what you do. And then scatter. Place 1 warrior in the lowest priority clearing of each suit, total of 3. Which is interesting that, this came out in tandem with the hirelings. So, hirelings and the landmark pack, so they must have already be thinking about some assumed rules that were in the earlier version of the game that are no longer assumed, because if there are the lost cities on the board, and it would say it was on 12, that would technically be the lowest suit in all 3 clearings. However, that would be not fair to just start with a grand total of 1 bird. So I guess you would just go to the next 2 lowest ones of whatever suit wasn't the one that you used here, for a total of 3 birds. And that's it. N+1, victory point tracker. N+2, we have our trait, backup plans. Whenever plot token is removed, place a warrior in the clearing which the plot was removed. So I'll put this where I am placing the plots, kind of on the, I haven't like actually measured to check this. I feel like the crows have like the biggest blank space on their board of all the bots, and that's a perfect spot for that card to place. N+3, interaction. So this is one that I can kind of put down by the Otter like services cards, because this is going to determine how these other bots interact with the bomb and the snare. So they don't really treat the pancake hand any different, nor do they treat the raid any different. But the bomb only removes 2 pieces, and it talks about removing warriors first. And then the snare, they ignore the snare like for the purposes of moving out of or placing on the board. However, so it's not like it changes their decision. Well, there's a snare here, so I can't go to this one. I'll go to this one instead. They still target that clearing like whatever their rules state they would. However, if they would place it in a clearing with a snare or move out of the snare clearing, remove the snare but don't perform the action. So, and the Vagabot still exhausts, it tries to move, removes the snare while exhausting an item, and then continues to move if he needs to move somewhere else. So it's a handy thing to keep on hand. So I'm going to put it down by my area closer to me so I can refer to it often. And that's it. So now we can actually start the game with the Cogwheel Corvids. So for the Corvids, their advanced card at the start of your turn, so before you've revealed the card, if the market has a favor of the blah 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 card, buy it and resolve its effect. 2 things about this. 1, awesome. This is one of the coolest interactions with the Riverfolk from like a bot perspective that's out there, because it actually is one of the super rare cases where the bots actually use a card for an effect that's not just crafting an item. With 2, the follow-up to that, I rarely, so rarely, I have only ever used the base deck. Now, for some of you watching, that might be absolute heresy, because E&P is by far and away, I think, the preferred deck for most people. However, 2 things. 1, the bots would not get benefit from any of those crafted effects, and they would not have the wherewithal to target my my effects, my crafted abilities, and sabotage them. So it would just be me able to create this like Swiss Army knife of abilities, and the bots just using their normal board stuff. So I have not ever used it with the bots. I probably should sometime just to see if I'm right, but it would only be me gaining benefit from it. Because the only thing they typically care about are items. But the second thing is, when I do play with humans, it's so infrequent at this time, unfortunately, and oftentimes I'm onboarding at least 1 person into the game, that it would just not feel great, because lots of times those crafted effects are overlooked in your first 1 or 2 games or whatever. So I am thrilled at some point to actually open up this pristine deck. I mean, just look at those cards. They're not even separated into suits. I mean, I've opened it up to look through them, but I'm saving this from when I can actually, I have my game groups now, but we just meet super few and far between. When we can actually get a regular, somewhat regular game of Root going on, I cannot wait to open that deck or play with any of you if I'm at like a convention or something. And get my ass absolutely handed to me because it'll be the first time I'm playing with EMP. But anyways, the reason I'm talking about this, it never really states it anywhere in the rulebook, like we recommend using the base deck. However, this is a pretty big tip of the hat that I've kind of been doing it the right way, because this would obviously have nothing to do were you using the Exiles and Partisans deck. You know, in this whole deck, you have these sabos and everything else, the fun coffin builders and everything else. You don't have any favor of the insert suit here cards. So the robot, the Cogwheel Corvids just wouldn't really have anything to do with their advanced service, which would be sad. Now that said, there are a couple, there's one other instance of that where you know, an advanced service doesn't really apply if a certain thing is in the game, but you know, is what it is. Anyways, there is not a favor of the blank in the game, so it's not going to purchase it. So we reveal a card, and it has a crossbow, which funnily enough, well, first of all, we're gonna do the thing, but funnily enough, at this point, the hand card would come into play, which says if it tries to craft, but there's no available item, or you know, but its card has no item, or there's not an item in the supply, then it's going to buy a market card that it can craft with. And there are, like I pointed out, 3 cards that can craft items, one of them being the crossbow. But the wily Corvids found a way to get that crossbow without actually giving the Otters anything for it. So good on you. All right, so next up, recruit. 2 warriors in each of 2 ordered clearings. Clearing tie, clearing with no plot tokens, and then most Corvid warriors. No warriors left in supply. We don't have to worry about that. So we obviously don't have any plots, and we have a 3-way tie between most Corvid warriors. So we're going to then break it with the high priority, and 10 and 11 get 2 extra crows. Flip. Don't have any plots to flip, so we move on. Into daylight. Battle in each ordered clearing with 2 or more Corvid warriors. Boop, boop. Defender tie, player with the most buildings, then the most tokens, then the most points. So no buildings, no tokens, 0 points for everybody else. However, setup order, so lizards and otters over here. So otters in 10, nothing, and lizards in 11. Wow, that was as destructive as possible. So 1 and 1, because there's only 1 target and only 1 thing to fight back. So lizards get their first acolyte. As the hisses go up from the crowd. All right, then we're going to move all but 2 warriors from each ordered clearing with a face-up plot. There are no face-up plots, so disregard. In the ordered clearing with the most Corvid warriors and no plot, you're going to remove a Corvid warrior there, whoop, and place a face-down plot. On the board, plot thickens. In a clearing that has no plot and 3 or more Corvid warriors, you're going to remove a Corvid warrior from there and place a random face-down plot. Now at this point, if you're playing on challenging, which I think I typically do with the Corvids, I think that bumps it to 2 or more warriors, so I would immediately get to put another plot down here. For the sake of right now, I don't have that here, so we're not worrying about it. So plot thickens, we move past it. Score 1 per pancake hand. We don't have any of them on the map. And then discard the order card. We're going to take it and put it into Lost Souls. And that is the Corvid's turn. So next up is going to be Drillbit Duchy. So at the start of your turn, if the market has an ambush card, buy it and place it in front of you. This is another awesome example of the advanced services giving more functionality to the bots and interacting with the cards in ways that they typically don't. There are no ambushes here, but if there were, that would be a really cool thing, because then it actually plays the ambush during a battle, which as a human, you can go into that knowing it and have your own ambush to counter, or a bot is just going to be taken by surprise. Womp womp. No, it won't, because of hate surprises. So this is the other one. I put it out here just to demonstrate it, but unfortunately, this is not going to be usable in a bot only game. So I'll just put it face down and pour one out for Drillbit Duchy. So we go on to reveal card. Whoosh. All right. So investments. Going to take coin here. So again, they are avoiding paying the Otters for the 3 things that are in their market, which is not a bad plan, if I'm being honest. Oh, just to back up, quick note. So basic service. This is one that's really easy to forget about. Mercenaries. So if you battle in a clearing with 2 or fewer of your warriors, you can buy mercenaries if any Riverfolk warriors are there. Now in our battles, there were Riverfolk in both of them. However, we were battling with 3, so we wouldn't have cared about this. As far as I understand, while this does let you break the logjam if you can't place any buildings anywhere, like during your build step, you can buy mercenaries and it will let you place buildings somewhere. Then that can be somewhere where you don't have pieces, from my understanding. However, for battling portion, I can't just buy mercenaries and say, all right, I'm going to fight the lizards down here or fight the moles up there. Like, I have to have at least 1 warrior in the fight that's also with an otter. So if, next turn I was to go to a battle action and, battle here in the rabbit clearing, I would hire the Riverfolk and then take it to the moles, because then, I get to use that as a potential casualty to take the hits somewhere else. So there you go. Like I said, very easy to miss, and I do so quite often. Moving on, recruit. Recruit 2 warriors plus 1 per little mole showing. So we are down to just a single warrior in our supply before we start making markets, which would be weird because you kind of want to have citadels at the beginning of the match, but that's, nothing weird happens. It's just setup. It's just always strange to me that when you're on the threshold of almost getting markets right at the beginning of the game. Moving on, we're going to dig. Overwhelm, we're going to dig twice per turn and only requires 3 warriors. However, we only have 2 in our burrow, so womp womp. Battle in each ordered clearing. So it is mouse as the order. We only have 1 mouse clearing, but nobody's there to battle. So we continue on. Build in the clearing you rule with the most duchy warriors, which is a 3-way tie, but clearing 1 obviously breaks that with priority. And we place down a citadel because we have 9 or more warriors in our supply. And then ministers, take the action of your swayed ministers. So one of them being captain, we would have done an extra hidden battle if there was a tunnel, which that didn't happen. But then marshal, because we swayed the next unswayed topmost minister instead of bottommost to just be a little bit different. Marshal is going to allow us to place a warrior into a clearing that has the fewest duchy warriors and a building. And then rally. In each ordered clearing with no duchy buildings and 2 or fewer duchy warriors, move all those warriors to an adjacent clearing with a duchy building. So this is super interesting because we are going to cede a bunch of territory and just hoover them up back to that clearing 1. And then in each clearing you rule, place all but 4 duchy warriors into the burrow. Okay, so we're placing 5 warriors into the burrow. We're going to be, assuming nothing else happens, we're going to be making 3 warriors in the burrow. So next turn we will have 10 warriors in our burrow, which means we're for sure going to dig twice and then have more for later on as well. So interesting strategy, Drillbit Duchy. And then score 1 per market on the map. There aren't any. Sway, we're going to place a crown on the topmost ordered unswayed minister, 4 mole. Ooh, that's going to be an extra mole icon. So we're actually going to make 4 next turn. Goodness gracious. And then we discard the order card to the lizards. And that's moles. So on the board with 1. Next up, Riverfolk. Stock market. So we are going to draw cards and add them to the right side until it has 5. It already has 5 because nobody bought anything. Poor Otters. Craft the first card added to the market that shows an available item and then discard it. We're not adding any cards, so they can't craft. Womp, womp, womp. Now this is interesting. I don't actually know if the Riverfolk robots can buy from themselves. So when a bot tries to craft and there's no available things to craft, it buys a market card that has an available item. I mean, I don't know. That seems feasible that they could buy it from themselves. I'll look it up, or search the internet. But for right now, I have not played like this before. But it doesn't make sense that these would be available to other people, but not them. So if there are multiple items, well, first the one that gets the most victory points, but oh, that's not an available one. But if there are multiples of the same type, then you randomize it. And you just choose one that way. So it's going to cost me 2 of my own warriors. So I have 3 in my payments box. Again, I'm not entirely sure if that is how that works. I will look it up, and it'll figure out the Klingon subtitles and put a note down below if I totally beef that. But we're doing it. So set order to be the rightmost market card, which is going to be Rabbit. Build and garrison. Place trade post and a warrior in an ordered clearing with no trade post. Clearing tie, clearing with the pieces of player who has the most warriors and payments, which is definitely me now. So we have 3 rabbits, as we said before, but this one is highest priority. So trade post and a warrior. There we go. Recruit 1 warrior in each ordered clearing. If the order card is bird, 1 warrior in each clearing on the river. It's not. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And organize. Check for protectionism. Does payments have no warriors? Nope. Does your supply have no warriors? Nope. So we are going to skip a bunch of actions because below organize, there are actions that only take place if you meet the shield or cross swords, stipulations from protectionism, which don't apply to us. So we move on to battle, where we won't do anything. Then we go on to score 1 point per warrior of the player with the most warriors and payments. So that's 1, 2, 3. 3 of our own. And then we're going to remove those warriors from payments. Racketeering, we will skip because we don't meet either of those. Discard the leftmost card from the market. And then we skip that last shield one. So these 2 are going over to the lizards. I guess technically, yeah, the boot one would have happened first, and then this one would have happened when I discard it. So we only have 3 cards in the market at the end of their turn, and I never got to use their trait of ferocious, of always having maximum hits rolled hits of 3 because they did not battle. Okay, and moving on, last turn, the logical lizards. So the advanced services, if there are fewer than 5 cards in Lost Souls, by non-bird cards, this is not true. That is super not the case because of a couple things that happen. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, they are good to go. So outcasts, the most common suit in your Lost Souls. You got to keep them in the same order. So it looks like there is a tie between foxes, mice, and birds. On a tie, the order is bird. Okay. Perform conspiracies in ordered clearings. Well, we only have one. Just going to pay 1 to convert. In an ordered clearing, replace an enemy warrior with a lizard warrior. Player tie, player with the most points, which is definitely Otter. Clearing tie, clearing with the most enemy buildings, which doesn't exist. So I look for just any Otters, and then most buildings, which don't exist. So highest priority would be right here, number 3. So you replace the Otter, and it's a bummer because Fanatics lets me battle with an extra hit anytime I convert. But the only thing here in clearing 3 are other lizards. So converted into a crowd of like-minded individuals. Okay, rituals. Reveal the top 4 cards in the Lost Souls. We'll put the rest over there. And then we will do the thing. So put them upside down as we do them. Place a warrior in a matching clearing. Then if you rule there, place a matching garden. Clearing with any open building slots and then most enemy buildings. Again, there are only 1 enemy building in the whole board. So orange. Any open building slot, which is every orange spot. So that means here. And yes, surprise, surprise, we do rule the clearing where we are the only warrior. Next up, red. Any open building slots, there's only 1 that they've taken up there, so they don't have to worry. So we have 12, 8, and 6. Again, we have a super majority there. So that goes down. Orange. Any open building slots, and don't worry about the enemy buildings. So we still rule. So we put a second garden, and then bird. Take a lizard warrior from the clearing with the most lizard warriors, place it in the acolytes, and then this card goes to the discard pile, not Lost Souls. So we have our 3 cards that we revealed in the same order that we revealed them. Next up, score 2 victory points of the rightmost empty garden space. So we're going to, or I think it's a score however many victory points, but we are in the 2 column. Then discard the Lost Souls. So this is important because these are 2 different piles. These are the revealed cards, and these are the ones that were underneath them, which is why it's important to put them back. Otherwise, you might forget and accidentally discard these. Then you're going to return revealed cards, like I said, keeping them in the previous order, and then craft the top card of the deck for 1 victory point. That is not a craftable card. So if, again, if a bot tries to craft, but its card has no available item, it buys a market card that has an available item. However, we have 1 market card with an item, but there is no longer a crossbow available. So this would have been a time when we actually would have seen someone buy something from the Riverfolk, but unfortunately they didn't because it's not available. And that's 1 turn each of these 4 factions. So hopefully the setup and walking you through 1 turn, it was helpful to see them in action. And let's do a little debrief over there. All right, welcome back from the table. So as you probably could tell, if you made it to this point in the video, thank you for being here, first of all. But you could probably see that all the things that these factions, like what makes them special, were just about to start happening. The crows were going to have their first plot flip. The moles had just a vast quantity of moles in their burrow. Wow, that took me way too long to think of. The Otters had yet to receive any purchases from the other bots, which can go both ways. Either they start getting purchases from them and then they start making money or actions off of that, or they don't receive purchases and they actually trigger that version of protectionism, which is good for them also. And then the logical lizards, we're just going to do the lizards thing of slowly kind of take over the board with gardens. So, turn 2 onwards was going to be lots more going on in the game, but I promised you 1 turn just walking through each of them. I did not necessarily promise you a great show for those turns, but hopefully it was educational. Setup is a little bit more involved with the Otters and the crows having those extra cards and those extra mechanics to remember both on and off their turns. It definitely throws some wrenches in the works because the whole point that I operate on, and I know Benjamin intended for the bots, was each of their turns is like boom, 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 go through their checklist, move on. That's the beauty of the bots, is that you don't really need to think about them until it's their turn, and then you actually do, but it really doesn't require that much like thought process to make it happen. However, if the Otters are in the game, both human or ROOTbot, because these cards do allow for the ROOTbots to interact with the human Otter player as well, then you just need to be thinking about that all the time. There's that. But super fun. I really do like playing with the Riverfolk Robots quite a bit because it just brings in that extra something that the Otters always do. If I could redo way long ago that video series or the show I did with Sam of Lord of the Board fame, where we talk about our difficult questions from Root, and one was if you had to remove one faction from the game, and I said the Otters because I didn't know how to play the Otters, and I dogged them pretty hard. They're actually super fun to play because I was playing them wrong before, and I love the ROOTbot version of them. So boy, was I wrong. Sam, I'm so sorry. Anyone who loves the Otters, I'm so sorry. I take back my answer if I could do it again. But anyways, that is the episode for today. Hopefully, like I said, it was helpful in getting these to the table. There's a little bit more sticker shock at the steps to run these bots than the first batch of 4, in my opinion. But all of them are definitely worth your time to check out. And yeah, I've played a lot of games with them, so I thoroughly encourage you to at least try out one with every one, and then maybe a bunch with some of them, and just kind of keep doing it, because then you're addicted like me. So thanks for taking a pause to give pause, and I will see you next time.